Can you imagine? You're sitting at a family dinner, everything's peaceful, food is good. Then out of nowhere, one little comment gets dropped and the whole vibe shifts. This one had me clutching my pearls, y'all. So boom, here's the tea. Sis and her husband, both 35, head to his parents' home for a family dinner with their two small girls. Everything's going smooth. Laughter, food, kids at their own table. But child, all it took was for one little comment from somebody to want to flip that table over. So everybody's eating, chowing down, honey. The vibe is good. Kids running around. Sis probably thinking, okay, smooth evening, no drama. Today is a good day. But then, let's hear this part. One of the girls come over to the grown-ups table and her daddy decides to make a little comment. I'm talking about the type of comment that makes the whole room pause. Now, y'all know how it is when energy shifts. The forks stop moving. People's eyes start darting across the table. People be pretending to eat while they low-key, eavesdropping. And says, wait, it ain't even stopped there though. Because instead of just laughing it off, sis morphed into a whole mama bear. We talking instincts was instinking, okay? Before she even thinks twice, her mouth just already moving. Next thing you know, what sis had to say, it just set everything off. But hold up, wait a minute. Because this is where it really goes left. Her husband, he does not take it well. And the way he reacted, let's just say, I wish I was a fly on the wall. Because, child, that tension could have cut with a butter knife. So here it is. The daughter, she climbs up, sweet as pie. Out of nowhere, daddy's rubbing on her little belly saying, whoa, look at that tummy. And sis froze. And I froze while reading it. Because I'm sitting here like, not body shaming the baby. Listen, y'all. You already know where my mind went. Because all it takes is for one little comment like that to plant these unwanted seeds in a girl's mind to carry for years. So Mama Bear snaps back. She's like, you probably shouldn't say that type of comment. And child, the way the table went silent, all eyes was on them. And her husband, instantly defensive. Bro was big mad. Understandably so. He's like, well, what do you mean by that? Then he gets so tight, he straight up leaves the table. 10 minutes later, she looking for him. She finds him upstairs, sulking, saying, you embarrassed me in front of everybody. Now listen, I don't doubt he's a good dad. Matter of fact, he's probably a great dad based on how sis described him. But let's keep it real. Words shape worlds. I don't care if you said it with a smile. When your child hears comments about their bodies, even when you're playing, it stores in their little hearts. And as a conscious parent, that's exactly why we pause. We check each other. And why we choose our words intentionally and carefully. We live in a world that's pro-bully and seeking to tear down a person any chance that they get. Our babies deserve our voices to be their inner voices, to help them stand firm and stand a chance against the evil. You don't have to be a bad person to say things that you shouldn't say. But eventually these babies will grow into something. The question is, into what? It depends on what their inner voice tells them. When it comes to being conscious, there's two ways of looking at this matter, okay? One, from the dad's perspective, okay? We're talking about when you're leading in curiosity, when you're leading with curiosity instead of being defensive. What does that look like? Upon hearing his wife say that, he could have, came up with, well, when you heard me say that, what came up for you? And AKA, you good? That, y'all, would have totally shifted the energy in the room. Why? because it would have made room for a healthy dialogue. Him seeing his wife triggered should have been like, honey, you okay? Like, what came up for you when you heard me say that? Right? So then she could express why she was triggered. It would have made great dialogue. And he would have been able to receive her with love instead of hostility. But on the other hand, because we're not letting sis off the hook either, she was out of pocket. When those intense trigger moments show up, we need to pause for a moment. Sit in it to be aware. Where is this coming from? What am I feeling? She didn't have to say anything right in that setting, but she definitely could have addressed it for when he was ready to hear what she was saying. Hey, babe, you know when you said whatever to little Annie about her belly? I'm realizing that did something to me inside. I just want to talk to you about it, share my thoughts and feelings with you. I just imagined for a moment that I was her as I remember what it was like being a child and how my body image and self-image began to shape. Talk about it in that way. That way it's with him, not at him and not to him. But sometimes people like the boxing gloves and the punching bags and they like to tussle. All jokes aside, y'all, it got me to thinking. If our words carry that much weight in a single moment, let's think about what Allah says in the Qur'an about the responsibility of what comes out of our mouths. In Surah Qaf, Allah says, ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. Not a word does one utter, except that with him is an observer prepared to record. That means every single thing we say, even the ones we brush off as jokes, is written down. Nothing slips past the record. So we must always be conscious of what we say. Allah also reminds us in chapter Hujurat, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوما من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم. Let not a people ridicule another people because perhaps they may be better than them. See, it doesn't matter if we think it's harmless or playful. Our children, our babies are still people. Are they not still deserving of honor and dignity? One careless word might not feel like much to us, but to them, it can start a wound they carry for life. And it doesn't mean that her feelings were hurt, but what thoughts about herself are being planted in her mind. This is what matters. So the question isn't, was it just a joke? The real question is, what kind of seeds are we planting with our words, especially for our babies? So yeah, y'all let me know, if this was your daughter, would you have spoken up right there? Do you make those kind of comments? You don't see any harm with it? Or would you have pulled him aside later? Me? I don't play about mine. But y'all tell me in the comments below.